American. Not afraid to be American. Listen, folks, I am thrilled to death, and some of you may be viewing me on YouTube right now. We are live. It is live. I will wave to you. This is the Victor Armendariz Show, now coming to you from the Extra 106.3, the wonderful, amazing studios. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a Braves fan, I'm going to make you jealous because I can walk outside of this amazing studio and touch the Atlanta Braves Stadium. Now, I don't know what they were doing today because when I pulled into this to the studios today, I'm walking past the Braves Stadium. And I don't know what they're doing, but there's some major noise going on. I don't know. It sounded like a huge vacuum cleaner maybe going over the field. Not sure. But I can't tell you how exciting it is because I know, look, I'm a soccer fan. You guys know that. I don't know a whole lot about baseball, but I do like baseball, and I love the Atlanta Braves. And the fact that now I get to be this close is amazing. And I'm about to learn a whole lot more about baseball because I do believe that the season is going to start really soon. I'm not sure about that, but I know everybody here in the Extra 106.3 studios, they all know because, ladies and gentlemen, this is also the home of 680 The Fan. So if you're listening to me now and this is the first time you've heard about Extra 106.3, because I know, listen, a lot of you listen. And listen, folks, I want to tell you this. My show now, because my home station now is 106.3, I'm going to be on Podcast Park. So you're going to want to go and find this website, and I'll get this information out to you through social media. But Extra 106.3 has a wonderful landing site. It's a webpage called Podcast Park. You'll find me there. Folks, listen, I'm going to be next to the likes of Neil Bortz. I grew up, and you listeners, you guys have been listening to me for a long time. You know how much I adore Neil Bortz. I grew up because my mom and dad listened to Neil Bortz every morning. And he's one of the inspirations, him and Rush Limbaugh, the reason I got into talk radio, the reason I wanted to be in talk radio. And so I get to be on Podcast Park. And my mug that's made for radio is going to be right there next to Neil Bortz, or real close to Neil Bortz's mug. So this is just a thrill, folks. I if I sound excited, I am. This is just a huge step for me, and it's only because of you listeners. So I cannot thank you listeners enough for bearing with me. And what I was going to with this is because we are now part of Extra 106.3. You're going to hear me filling in for some other hosts every now and then, so stay tuned to social media. But as I told you, this wonderful station, this studio, they're right in next to they're practically in the Brave Stadium, and it's amazing. It's awesome. But because of that, I'm going to do a lot of Georgia politics, and you're going to hear a lot. And I don't want you to get discouraged if you're outside of Georgia, because I know a lot of you listeners, and listen, again, I'm very humbled, but I've got listeners from Florida to Seattle. Now, I don't know why some of these whack jobs in Seattle listen to me. I'm kidding, folks. Listen, there are conservatives everywhere. Sometimes they have to hide, but they're there. But honestly, I have a lot of Democrats that listen to me, that listen to my show, and I'm glad they do, because if you're still a sycophant for the Democrat Party, you need to hear what I have to say, especially today. We're going to get into a few things, but you guys that are outside of here, in fact, I want to say hello to an awesome listener in Tennessee, who's already was in touch with me, ready to watch the show today. And again, folks, it's live on YouTube. So that is me live. But shout out to the listeners in Tennessee. You guys are amazing and you're awesome. And especially one that was communicating with me this morning. I really appreciate you guys listening. But all the way to California, New York, everywhere. We've got wonderful listeners everywhere. So don't get discouraged when I do talk about Georgia politics, because what happens in Georgia, I mean, come on. I have listeners that will come up to me when I travel, folks, if they recognize me, or they just know who I am, they will come up to me and thank me for the way Georgia voted in 2024. I've never had that happen, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not kidding you. I was in Las Vegas not too long ago, and somebody came up to me and said, thank you, Georgia. And I was like, what do you mean, thank you, Georgia? Because you guys voted right this time. So, it's just humbling anyway to get recognized on the occasions that I do. Because, folks, listen, I'm low on the totem pole. I'm down here at the totem pole. So I'm not... I got a long way to go. Let's put it that way before I'm considered a big guy in talk radio. Now, the reality is, and those of you who know me, I'm never going to be a big guy in talk radio because I am all of 5'3", and that's if I'm wearing the right shoes. But hopefully, I will be a big voice in talk radio. But anyway, folks, listen, thanks to all of you listeners, and a big shout out also to listeners in Daytona. Folks, I've got some listeners in Daytona that have been listening to my show since I started, and that was, gosh, I don't know, 7 years ago or so. It's been a while now. So big shout out to them. So it's just, I'm thrilled to death with this new chapter for the Victor Armendariz show. And I'm just glad that so many of you are along for the road. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I have listeners in Mexico and England and Germany, and I even have some in Russia. Now, again, I'm not involved with anything that Russia does, folks. Just let me tell you, I cannot control who listens to this show, but it's fun. It's fun. So you can find me now if you're watching me live on YouTube and you want to hear the show again, or you want to tell somebody about it. If you want to tell somebody, hey, that crazy Mexican, not afraid to be American, you won't believe what he said. You're going to be able to go after. Look, I'm going to do a live show every Friday. It's going to be YouTube. You can see it every Friday, 11 o'clock. Other than that, you're going to be able to go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Podcast Park site that I told you about. If you go to 106.3, you can find the Podcast Park site, and you'll find the Kimmer, you'll find Bortz, you'll find me, you'll find Janelle King. You're going to find a lot of people. So you want to be part of the world that is Extra 106.3, folks. Listen, I trust me on that. Trust me on that. So, but you're going to be able to listen to my show whenever you want to. You can tell people about it, and you can re-listen to it. You can have new people listen to it. Now, thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. But you're just Victor Armendariz Show. You can, again, go to Podcast Park through Extra 106 website, or you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's going to be give it a couple of days, and it's going to be all over those platforms. So you'll be able to tell your friends about it and listen whenever you want. But if you want a special treat, which is truly a special treat, because I really didn't even know this, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. Look, I'm always honest with you. I didn't even realize this would be live from YouTube until about 5 minutes ago. So welcome all. So I got to get into a few things. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to tell you all the craziness and things that are going on, because lots of stuff's it's just a never-ending news cycle right now. And President Trump, he has a way. Look, love him or hate him, President Trump has this unique ability to, if he wants to change the news cycle, he can change the news cycle. If he wants the media to hone in on something, he has this uncanny way of doing it. I don't know how the media cannot figure out that Donald J. Trump is probably the best troller that we've ever seen. I mean, this guy, he really is. It's quite funny, because he controlled the snot out of them, and it's just fun to watch. But right now, we do have a lot of things going on, folks, and I want you to understand. And there's a lot of things that I'm going to try to touch on today. We'll see how much I can get done. Now, I'm already seeing some questions. Yes, folks, yes, I will still, on occasion, when the schedules align, I'll still be filling in for Eric Erickson on occasion. So I will go down to the stepchild. I think somebody called, I don't remember who said that before, the other station. But every now and then, if the worlds align and I can do it, I will be filling in for Eric Erickson sometimes. So yes, I will still be doing that. So thanks for the question. That was a good question. Okay, so I want to start off. I want to start this show up before I get into some major topics and give you my analysis and give you my opinion. I want to say this. It is not time to panic. All right, folks, so listen to me clear. It is not time to panic. And I know some of you have been asking, is it time to panic yet? Because a lot of you were Rush Limbaugh listeners. And I miss that guy, and I know many of you do too. And if you remember, Rush Limbaugh used to say, no, first of all, you guys hear me talk about my love for this country. And I do it from watching my dad, who came here on a student visa, my dad who couldn't speak this language, my dad who throughout all my years of growing up, my dad was trying to speak the English language without an accent. Now, my dad is up there in years right now, and he still cannot speak the English language without an accent. He thinks he can, but he can't. And if you ever meet my dad, just ask him to say Captain Crunch. When I was a kid, one of my favorite cereals was Captain Crunch, and I used to we'd go to the store and I'd tell my dad I need Captain Crunch, and my dad would turn around every time. Okay, I'll get some Captain Crunch. He thought he was saying Captain Crunch, but every time Captain Crunch. Oh, you want some Captain Crunch? Captain Crunch. So, but that's what when I'm coming to you and I talk about my love of the country and I talk to you about my love for the United States and why I tell you that I am a United States American first before anything else. I love my heritage, love the history of my family. I love going to Mexico. Not so much right now, but I do love Mexico. There's some great things about Mexico. It's too bad their government is full of what they call democratic socialist. Listen, you want to know how bad Democrat socialism can be? You want to know how bad that type of government can be that you hear coming from AOC? You hear Bernie Sanders talk about it. You're hearing most of today's Democrats straight up telling you they want to be socialists. Look at Mandami. Mandami is basically a communist, folks, and I don't throw that term around lightly. And they're not my words. You go read, if he hasn't deleted them yet, go read some of the past social media posts from Mandami before he was elected. The guy spouted communism. He's a communist fan, and he's definitely a socialist. He'll tell you today that he's a socialist. What that guy, Mandami, as if New York City hasn't lost enough voters. I'm sorry. Well, they are losing voters, but as if they haven't lost enough businesses. Mandami's about to be the single, how do I put this? He's about to be the single best mayor for chasing business away. That's not a title that you want as a mayor. But Mandami is single-handedly about to chase away, I don't know how much business out of New York City. New York City can't afford this. They're already spending way more money than they take in from the tax base, and now they're getting rid of they're chasing out more of their tax base. So what is going to happen? It's going to be a disaster, an absolute disaster. But socialism always leaves a disaster in its wake. Socialism will always leave a disaster in its wake. And this is the kind of stuff that Mandami's doing. This is the kind of stuff that lady in Seattle is doing. Look at that guy. I believe it's, oh my gosh, I think it's a Starbucks dude or somebody in Seattle, big business guy, is packing up and leaving Seattle now because that new mayor is about to tax the you-know-what out of them. And they can't take it anymore. So they're and not only that, look what Seattle just did. What the state of Washington does not have an income tax. In fact, in their state of Washington Constitution, it says they cannot have an income tax. But what did they just do? They said, you know what? This is what the liberals, this is what your today's Democrat Party has done. They looked at the Constitution and said, Constitution be damned. We're going to pass an income tax anyway. And we're so confident that the Washington State Supreme Court is so to the left that they're going to find a way to uphold our complete abuse of the state constitution in Washington. So they passed this income tax. Even though the Constitution clearly in the state of Washington says you can't do it, they're going to do it anyway. So now you're going to see businesses flee out of the state of Washington. It's amazing, folks, but this is your Democrat Party today. And then you've got Newsom in California. They're just getting, I don't know if you've heard about this yet, and if you haven't, you will soon. They're discovering fraud almost on the level of what the fraud that was going on in Minnesota. You're about to find out about this fraud. I believe it's a nursing home or one example that they just found was there was a lady that walked into a doctor's appointment or something, and they looked at her and said, wait a minute, it says here you're in hospice. And the lady looked at him and said, do I look like I'm in hospice? But the paperwork said she was in hospice. So it turned out that people in I don't know if it's the Somalians yet, because I know some of you are already saying Somalians. No, I'm joking. We don't know yet. But some people in California were stealing people's information, basically stealing their identity, and then listing them as hospice so they can get money from the state. So they're stealing taxpayers' dollars by lying and stealing people's identity and saying that they're on hospice, and then they're taking that money from the state, they're taking it from the taxpayer. So this is more fraud going on in another Democrat-run state. So, and a Democrat-run city, just like in Minnesota. And this is the type of stuff you're seeing where Democrats run things, where they bring socialism, they're bringing destruction. And it's sad that it takes so many examples before people will understand it. And the unfortunate thing is you've got so many people that are coming out of colleges today, and these are young heads full of mush that are coming out of colleges, and they're stuck on this belief, or they've been brain fed and I guess brainwashed into thinking that socialism is right, that socialism will work. Pay no attention to the destruction in history from socialism, because clearly they didn't do it right. But somehow these new young heads full of mush coming out of college today, somehow they're going to do it right. Somehow Mandami is going to do it right. Somehow AOC. No, folks, it's not possible to do socialism right, because socialism as an economic system, as a governance system, does not work. The only thing socialism will bring is shared misery. The only thing it's going to bring is shared misery. So remember that. But you can watch it. You can watch it in real time by watching New York City. That's just self-destructing under Mandami. You can watch it in Seattle. It's going to self-destruct under that mayor who's the female version of Mandami. Look at California, all the problems they're having. Folks, listen to this. Is it not just rich that Newsom is coming out? This guy wants to be president so bad. He wants to be president so bad he can taste it. And Newsom is out there trying to tell you that you should be mad at high gas prices because of what's going on in Iran. And if you've got half a brain, you know Donald Trump came into office only a year ago, and he took Biden and Kamala prices of gas at $5 and got them almost down to $2. In fact, in a couple of few places, gas was below $2 a gallon. Donald J. Trump and his policies did that. There's a spike right now because of the necessary thing in Iran, and I'll get into that later. But if you've got half a brain, you'll understand that the market forces of Donald Trump's policies are bringing gas down. You witnessed it the last 12 months. You witnessed it. So you see a spike right now because you've got some crazy mullahs in Iran that are trying to scare people into going through the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz, why is it important? Because so much fuel goes through there. Not necessarily our fuel, but fuel for the world market, excluding us. A lot of it goes through, we're talking 40% or more, it goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So if ships aren't able to go through there, it's going to spike the oil. So that's why you're seeing a spike in oil. So as soon as we secure the Strait of Hormuz, and believe me, Hormuz, we're going to secure it. The United States will secure it one way or the other. And I will predict this. I will tell you, I will bet you it won't be a few days or a week or so before some of our allies get off the bench and they come into the Strait of Hormuz and they start assisting and securing the Strait of Hormuz. And once they do that and that oil flows through there, gas is going to start coming down again, because the natural market forces right now, thanks to the policies of President Trump, are forces that will bring gas down. You know this because we've seen it for the past 12 months. So if you give a few weeks or let's even give some grace, and let's give it a month or 2 months, I will tell you that probably by the time we get to June, that the barrel price of gas will probably be somewhere between $50 and $55, or $50 and $60. It's going to be back down to there, which means you'll be paying $2 a gallon for gas again, except in the state of California. In the state of California, where this is really rich, where Gavin Newsom is coming out and he's trying to tell you that you should be so mad because gas is priced. What was his prices last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What was his price a month ago? California, everywhere else almost in the United States, you were paying under $3 for a gallon of gas. You were not paying that in California. You were still paying $4 for gas in a gallon in California. And when gas falls again, when we get this Iran stuff all settled out and everything settles down and the Strait of Hormuz is open, most of this country is going to be paying $2 or maybe $2.50 a gallon for gas, maybe less. Some people might be under $2 a gallon for gas, and depending on what state you're in. But the state of California, you mark my words, they will still be paying probably between $4 and $5, if not more, per gallon in gas. And that is because of Gavin Newsom. That is because the stranglehold the Democrats have on the state of California. So for this guy to come out and try and convince you, the audacity of this guy, I would say the cojones this guy has, but I've seen the way this guy sits and I've seen the way this guy frolics, so I'm not so sure he can be classified as an alpha male. And to me, if you're not an alpha male, well, you just don't have a big old set of cojones. I should keep this clean. But you know what I'm talking about. I don't really look at Gavin Newsom as being that strong dude that asserts, confidence. No, Gavin Newsom is a feminine dude who walks around saying he's in touch with his feminine side. Look, it's nothing wrong with being in touch with some emotions, but hey, a dude's a dude. And I'm going to catch so much crap for this, but I don't care. I don't care. Gavin Newsom, the audacity that man has to try and get you to be mad at high gas prices right now when we know this is temporary. We know that Donald Trump has already implemented policies. We've seen gas drop from the Biden-Kamala highs. As soon as Trump got elected and changed policies, gas has been falling ever since. And now there's a spike because of what's going on in Iran, mainly because of the Strait of Hormuz. Once that's secured, gas is going to fall. The only place you won't see gas falling will be the state of California. Because what has Gavin Newsom done and the Democrats done recently? They're shutting down more refineries. The state of California brings in oil from probably Iran. I mean, they're importing oil to the state of California when all they have to do is open the pipelines, open the refineries, and the good old United States oil could be right there for them. But the Democrat Party and Gavin Newsom, he's so out there to the left, and he's placating to this green, I'm just going to say green fraud, that he is going to keep and force prices higher in California for the people of California. What a shame. What a shame. So I want you to remember this. I want you guys to take a note. And if you're a Democrat listening to me right now, which I know some of you do, and ladies and gentlemen, this is the Victor Armendariz Show. I am the Mexican not afraid to be American. I'm not angry. I'm just right. And mark my words and write this down, especially if you're a Democrat. If you're living in California and listening to me, and I know some of you are, write this down. You watch, you see your prices now. You guys have got, I think, $8 per gallon gas right now. But when the rest of the country's gas falls back to $2 and you're still sitting at $4 and $5, I want you to remember that I told you that was going to happen. And the only person you have to blame will be Gavin Newsom and his Democrat cronies. And that's just a fact, folks. But write it down so that you will see right now on March 31st, on March 13th, Friday the 13th. You mark this down, and that you heard it here on the Victor Armendariz Show. And that way, when you come back in a few months, you'll have that, and you'll know, hey, Victor was telling us the truth. And you just watch, folks. So I say all that to remind you of this. What did Rush Limbaugh say? He'd always tell you, it's not time to panic. And I think, Rush Limbaugh loved this country as much as I do, and that's tough because of my appreciation for this country, like I said, because of the way I saw my father and my uncle, what they had to go through. Not because somebody was being mean to them. No, you want to know, let me tell you this. You want to know the difference between immigration the way it should be and illegal immigration? You know how it used to be? before 1914, if you made it to Ellis Island, you were allowed in the country. It was it was basically open borders before 1914. And you can fact check me on this, folks. Look it up. But before 1914, if you made it to Ellis Island, you were welcomed into this country. You know what the difference is? You know why we can't do that now? You know why we can't do an open border now? Not just because of the criminal element that's coming over here, not just because of the rapists and the drug bangers and the gang bangers and the the murderers that were allowed in this country. No, think about this. I'm not even going to talk about the current criminal element or the terror cells that are laying in wake in this country right now, or laying in waiting, I should say, because of Biden-Kamala's open border. Let me tell you the difference without even talking about the criminal element. Before 1914, the people that were coming here, the immigrants that were coming here, the people that wanted to be immigrants to this country, they were coming because they wanted to be immigrants with jobs. Today, and under Joe Biden, when you had the open borders under Joe Biden and Kamala and cackling Harris, too many, not all, but too many were coming here to be immigrants of welfare. You see the difference, folks? Listen, please listen to me. Come in closer to me. Come in closer to your speakers. If you're streaming me now live on YouTube, come in closer. Get close to your screen. Come on. I took a shower today. I smell good. It is quite different to come here like my father did, to come here like my uncles did, to come here to be an immigrant of employment, and to bring qualities that you have, resources that you have, that you want to add to the United States. You want to be a producer for the United States. That's different than coming here like so many did under Kamala and Biden. They came here who wanted to be immigrants of welfare. They came here with their handout. Ladies and gentlemen, no government program was around to give my dad a hotel room when he came here. No government program was around to give my uncle food stamps when he came to this country. There was no program in this country. There was no Democrat or Republican handing out credit cards and Amazon cards or DoorDash cards and free hotel rooms and free health care. There was no Gavin Newsom telling my dad and my uncle, come to this country, we're going to give you free health care. Come to this country, whether you produce or not, we're going to give you a set number of dollars to keep you on our welfare system. And you know what? My father and my uncle, they would, if you had have offered it to them, they would have said no, because they were coming to this country to be producers. They were coming to be immigrants of employment, not immigrants of welfare. And that, my friends, is the difference. So please take it from me. El Mexicano, not afraid to be Americano. No tengo miedo, mi gente. I'm not afraid to tell you these things. And I know some of you are going, boy, Victor, nobody's really told me like that. Listen, folks, I have a different perspective because of my background. And if you saw some of the hard work, I bet you I was at least 8 or 10 before I saw my dad have 2 jobs instead of 3, let alone just 1. Okay? So, and my uncle the same way. They came here to be immigrants of employment, not to be immigrants of welfare. That's the difference. Folks, listen, we're going to take a break real quick, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back. It's the Victor Armendariz Show. Armendariz, for those of you who want to try to roll your R's. Listen, folks, I'm not angry. I'm just right. I'm not angry. I'm just right. Listen, I blew through a couple of breaks there, but listen, it's the first show, and luckily, because this is still a podcast platform, I have a little bit of leeway. But trust me, folks, we'll get back on a normal type basis when we get through this first show. But I have so much to say, and I'm so excited that this is the first show here at Extra 106.3, and being part of them and being part of the podcast platform, Podcast Park. It's going to be awesome, folks. So, and thank you all, those of you, if any of you are tuning in right now to YouTube, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And you can hear the show anytime after today. Give it a day or two, and it'll be on Spotify and Apple and again, Podcast Park. But listen, folks, I want to take a second. I got to take a second to mention my friends at Appalachian Gun. Appalachian Gun and Range. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me. If you think you've been to a gun store, you haven't. You got to take a drive to Jasper. Now, Jasper, Georgia, driving there, listen, you're going to get the best barbecue. You're going to get the best view of the mountains. You're going to get just awesome little city fun mountain vibes. You're going to get all of that just for going to Appalachian Gun and Range. But let me tell you about Appalachian Gun and Range. You got to go in there. You tell Ralph Victor sent you, or tell Kim Victor sent you. Tell anybody behind the counter Victor sent you from the Victor Armendariz Show, and I'll bet you they'll give you something. They'll give you something. Ralph's gonna kill me, but I bet you they'll give you some type of discount, ladies and gentlemen, if you go in there and tell them the Victor Armendariz Show sent you. But this place it's amazing, folks. And if you've got a little kid like I do, they've got a mechanical horse outside. If you got a little kid like my little girl, you won't make it past the horse. She's just gonna ride it over and over. But inside, Appalachian Gun is just amazing. They've got a great selection of guns. They've got an unbelievable range. They have a rifle range, folks. You can shoot a long barrel. They will help you. If you've never shot, they will help you. They will train you. If you're a liberal, if you are a Democrat listening to me right now and you don't believe a thing I say and you hate the Second Amendment, but you finally woke up and you had the epitome that you better do something to protect your family. And listen, I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a liberal. I don't care what you are. You should be prepared to protect your family. And if you are prepared to take that step, I want you to go to Appalachian Gun, because Appalachian Gun, they don't care how you vote. There's no secret that they're Second Amendment lovers like I am. It's no secret that you're going to run into more conservatives than you are liberals at Appalachian Gun. But if you walk in there, you can tell them, hey, I'm a liberal. I've never held a gun, but I need to protect myself. And they will help you. They're not just going to sell you a gun and let you walk out the door. They're going to sign you up for training. They're going to sign you up for training, and I'll bet you they'll probably do the first one for free. Ralph's really going to kill me. No, they may give you a discount or something, ladies and gentlemen, but if you are a liberal, a Democrat, and you've never held a gun, but you realize you need to do something to protect your family, and you should, it's your God-given right to do that, I want you to visit Ralph at Appalachian Gun. I want you to go in and you tell them that you've never held a gun, because they will train you. They're not going to sell you a gun and send you out the door. They're going to make sure you get proper training so that you feel good and you're comfortable. Because, folks, it's like, listen, I've taught a lot of people how to ride motorcycles, and it's like this. Everybody I've taught to ride a motorcycle, the first thing I told them when they sat on the bike was, this is going to go one of two ways. You're going to love it, and you'll be a motorcycle rider for life, or you're going to get spooked and you'll never ride a motorcycle again. That's the way it goes, and that's the way I tell people. So the same thing's going to happen when you go visit Ralph at Appalachian Gun. If you've never held a gun, he's going to give you some training. You're going to shoot the weapon, and you're either going to go, wow, I can dig this, and I'm going to do the proper training, and I'm going to do proper gun care, and I'm going to do proper gun safety, or you're going to go, this ain't for me. It scares me, and you'll never touch a gun again. And folks, there's nothing wrong with that. You can get a bat, you can get a stick, you can get a knife. But if you don't know and you want to know, go visit Ralph at Appalachian Gun. You'll thank me for it. And again, tell them Victor Armendariz sent you. So, but they're wonderful. And again, thank you to Appalachian Gun for being a wonderful partner of the Victor Armendariz Show. So, okay, folks. All right. I'm going to move on and try to get on some other things. But listen, I wanted to make that difference for you. I want you to understand the difference. Why? Listen, the American people are the most giving people in the country. And the majority of the people in this country do not have a problem with Jose and Pepe and Taco and Paco. I can do this, folks, because this is my heritage. The American people don't have a problem with people helping on the farms, with people helping in the lawn care, and all of these jobs that I'm told Americans won't do, which I don't believe that. If you have the will to work, you'll do, as my dad said, you do whatever job you can get to climb your way to the job that you want. And along the way, no matter what it is that you're doing, you be the best, whatever it is, that there's ever been, and then sooner or later you'll get to that job that you want. So listen, the American people, again, they're the most giving people. They're the most giving people. And they don't have a problem with if you're over here and you're from another country and you want to work hard and you want to assimilate and you want to be part of this country, you want to be part of the American culture, and you're not doing crimes, you're not drinking and driving, you're not raping women, you're not abusing children, you're not battering wives, you're not pushing drugs. You're over here because you want to be part of the American culture, and you want to produce. You don't want to stick your hand out. You're not here for welfare. You're not an immigrant of welfare, but you want to be an immigrant of employment, and you want to be a producer. Well, then most of the people in this country will welcome you. They will. But the difference is that right now, too many people are coming over here because of the Democrat Party and because of people like Gavin Newsom who are promising free health care to illegals. Look at New York, AOC, they're promising free school for illegals. So they're developing this massive welfare state and inviting the rest of the world to come. Listen, folks, it was no mistake that every Democrat, except maybe Fetterman, sat on their derrieres when the simple question was asked at the State of the Union. It is your job, per the Constitution, your job as an elected official is to put the American citizen first. Your job as an elected official is put the American citizen first. And every Democrat sat down. So basically the question was, if you agree that your job as an elected official in the United States government is to put the American citizen first, stand up. No Democrat stood up. That wasn't except maybe Fetterman. That wasn't by mistake, ladies and gentlemen. They put today's Democrat Party, because of their quest for power, put the illegal immigrant ahead of the American citizen. Understand this. This is not hyperbole, and I'm not making this up. You can go YouTube and watch the State of the Union, and you could probably put in question about putting American citizens first, and it'll probably take you to that right excerpt where the Democrats stayed sitting. They did not stand up in support of the American citizen. They sat in support of the illegal alien. Your Democrat Party did that. Okay? So, and why? Why do they do that? It's very simple. It's very simple. The census. The Democrat Party needs bodies. If they don't have bodies, they lose House seats. The state of California is about to lose House seats. The state of New York is going to lose House seats because they're pushing their voters, the citizen, they're pushing away. They're pushing business out. And the businesses and the citizens, so many of them, are going to Georgia. They're going to Tennessee. They're going to Florida. They're going to Texas. They're going to Nevada. They're going to more friendly states that aren't taxing their citizens to death. That's why they're leaving California. That's why they're leaving New York. So what's happening? They need bodies. If they don't have bodies that can be counted, they're going to lose congressional seats. If they lose congressional seats, they lose electoral votes. This is very simple, folks. Very simple. It's not so much about illegal voting. It's really about bodies being counted so they can keep power through the electoral vote. Because if you have more House seats, you get more electoral votes. If you lose House seats, you get less electoral votes. This stuff matters more to the Democrats than anything else. And that's why they want illegals. If you noticed, the illegals that Biden and Kamala were pumping in across the border, they were flying them to different cities across the country. And most of those cities were blue cities. They weren't red cities. Why were they doing that? They were doing that because they need bodies in California. They need bodies in Illinois. They need bodies in New York. They need bodies in Michigan. Because the Democrat policies are driving citizens away. So they need non-citizens to get that census vote, to get that census count, to get the count. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're doing this. So, again, the Democrat Party is trying to set up for immigrants to be immigrants of welfare, not immigrants of employment. And what a shame that is. What a shame that is, folks, because you cannot, listen to me right now, you cannot bring abject poverty and welfare from the rest of the world. You can't bring it here and not expect here to become there. So if you bring poverty and you bring welfare recipients to this country will turn into a welfare country. If you want to see what happens when socialism runs rampant, look at Venezuela. Venezuela years ago was the richest country in Latin America. Latin America. Let me say it because some people get mad when I use my I roll my R's or I say it correctly. Listen, folks, Latin America is the right way to say it. But I understand if you're here, it's Latin America. But Venezuela was the richest country out there. And when socialism took hold, it didn't take long. And they're the poorest country in Latin America, one of the poorest. People starving, people without homes. It's awful. That's what socialism does. That's what socialism does. And you can't bring that here on a continuous basis and not expect here to become there. That is why you saw so much crime breaking out in this country. If you bring the crime from there to here, then here will become there. That's just that should be law of physics or something. That's just the way it is. That's reality. That is reality. Now, if you go back to like it was before 1914, when every immigrant that came here wanted to be part of this great free nation, they wanted the opportunity that no matter your skin color, no matter your creed, if you were part of the American culture, you had the opportunity to succeed. Didn't matter. If you came from a family of maids or a family of janitors and you come to the United States, you might start out as a janitor. You might start out as a maid. But in this country, you have the possibility and the opportunity to open your own maid company, to open your own janitorial services company, to open your own lawn care company. In this country, you are afforded that opportunity because of freedom. That's the United States. That is coming to this country to be an immigrant of employment, to be a producer, not to be an immigrant of welfare, which is what so many countries out there are welfare states. We do not want the United States to be a welfare state because it will just take us down, down, down. And eventually you'll have shared misery. You won't have a whole lot of middle class folks. You will devastate the middle class. There's a reason that Mexico is a very, very rich country and has hardly any middle class. But there's a whole lot of poverty. There's a whole lot of misery. That is socialism. We don't want that here, folks. We do not want that here. And I'm just, trust me, folks, trust me. But anyway, so just to move on a little bit more, do I need to take a quick break? All right, let's take a quick break, folks. We'll be right back. This is the Victor Armendariz Show. All right, folks, welcome back. It's the Victor Armendariz Show. Your Mexicano, not afraid to be Americano. Folks, listen, I like Rush Limbaugh said, if you asked him, if Rush Limbaugh were alive today and you asked him, is it time to panic? He would tell you no, it's not time to panic. This country is too great. It's too great. And we have a chance. And do I need to remind you that President Trump is the president and the Republicans control the Senate and they control the House? It's a small margin, but they do control it. So don't tell me we cannot win the midterm elections. The worst thing the Republican Party can do right now, and folks, I'm not angry, I'm just right. The worst thing, and I'm seeing some people do it. I'm seeing some Republicans. It blows my mind. But I am seeing some Republican people say, we can't win. If we don't pass the SAVE Act, for instance, that we can't win. Do I need to remind you that Donald Trump won in 2024 without the SAVE Act? Do I need to remind you that Donald Trump won the popular vote without the SAVE Act? Now, I am not against the SAVE Act, but I am telling you, if you start putting this negative vibe in people's and voters' heads, that if this doesn't pass, we can't win, then you are setting up a recipe for losing. Why do so many in the establishment Republican Party want to be losers? I don't understand it. I want to be a winner. I know President Trump wants to be a winner. Well, the Victor Armendariz Show wants to be a winner. And by golly, I'm winning because I just joined 106.3. Extra 106.3 family. So I'm winning. But I want the country to win. And why do so many Republicans want to set us up to lose? I am convinced that there are some establishment Republicans that want to stab Trump in the back so bad that they actually want to try to fulfill a self-fulfilling prophecy and lose the midterms. Now, I know history, it's tough to win in an off presidential election midterm. It is. But it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But I will tell you this. If you run around telling the Republican or conservative or independent voter, especially some low information voters, and listen, folks, there are let's call them this, drive-by voters. There are drive-by voters that only pay attention because Donald Trump is president. There are drive-by voters that don't really pay attention to the minutia of the things going on, but they do pay attention to President Trump. And this is why it's so hard for Republicans to win right now, is because President Trump's not on the ballot. And these drive-by voters don't tend to vote unless Trump is on the ballot. Well, if you are a drive-by voter, please listen to me. Donald Trump may not be on the ballot in November this year, but his policies are. If you want gas to stay low, if you want energy prices to stay low, which they're going to be low, folks, in a couple of months, trust me on this. If you want your taxes to stay low, if you want spending to reduce and your business world to be able to increase, you want regulations to fall so business can flourish, then you better go vote like Donald Trump is on the ballot. Because if the Republicans lose the House, and if they lose the Senate, think about this. If they lose the Senate, we got no more judges. And if we lose the Senate and something happens to a Supreme Court judge, we'll say hello to a liberal judge. If we lose the House, we'll say bye to your tax cuts. Say bye to all the good things that Trump is doing. All right? So you've got to go into November like Donald Trump is on the ballot. So these drive-by voters, they're not paying attention every day. They don't vote in midterm elections. They don't vote in off-term elections. They don't vote in special elections. And they don't even vote in primary elections. But they will vote if Donald Trump's on the ballot. They proved that. So that's what the Republican Party needs to do. They need to figure out a way to do what the Democrats do. There aren't many times that I will tell you to do what a Democrat does. Not today's Democrat. But right now, what the Republican Party needs to do, the Republican Party needs to start renting all the buses. I don't care if you use them or not. You rent all the buses. You go every major city across this country, you better rent all the buses for November. 1, so you can go pick up drive-by voters and take them to the polls. 2, so the Democrats can't rent them. Why? I am not an Ivy Leaguer. I am not an intellectual. I'm just regular old Victor who's had to work. Folks, I still do. I still have 2-3 jobs. I'm just a hard worker, folks. I'm just a normal guy. Went to a normal college, and I work hard every day. And I can look and go, gee, it'd be pretty smart if we rented all the buses for November election and we bus some of these drive-by voters in. And even if some of the buses stay parked, at least the Democrats can't use them. Why you can't tell me that there aren't some Republicans out there that work in these campaigns that can't figure this out. Well, you tell them you heard it here on the Victor Armendariz Show and tell them to get off their butts and you go rent all the buses for November election and you start driving around in every major city and you pick up the drive-by voters and make sure they go vote. You pick up these Trump voters who don't normally vote in off elections and you get them to the polls. And then you make sure you rent every bus, every van so the Democrats can't use them. Telling you folks, this is the positive stuff that needs to be. But no, what are some Republicans doing? They're out there telling you that you can't win if you don't have the SAVE Act. Even though Donald J. Trump was the first Republican to win the popular vote in a decade or more. He did that without the SAVE Act. So, again, I'm not against the SAVE Act. Now, I do think there's a couple of tweaks that need to be made for it, and I think if they hadn't made it so complicated, it would have already passed. But here's the thing. Even though I can support the SAVE Act, I would never tell a Republican or a conservative or an independent voter or a drive-by voter that we can't win without this one bill being passed. That is the most asinine, dumbest thing I've ever heard. And I'm sorry that there are some dumb Republicans that are saying that because all they're doing is depressing their own vote. It's the same crap that Marjorie Taylor Greene pulled. Look, some of you got mad at me. You know, you're not mad at me anymore because now you see the real Marjorie Taylor Greene. Some of you got mad at me when Marjorie Taylor Greene was running around in 2020. No, I'm sorry. Was it 2020? It might have been 2020. When the state of Georgia lost 2 Senate seats It was because part of it was because Marjorie Taylor Greene was running around telling North Georgia that they're just going to steal your vote. They're just going to steal your vote. Don't go vote. So what happened? 500,000 Republicans didn't, or 250,000 or something Republicans didn't vote. Had they voted, we would still have 2 Republican senators in the state of Georgia. But because they didn't vote, because so many Republicans stayed home and didn't vote, because they were told by people like Marjorie Taylor, it wasn't just Marjorie Taylor Greene, but she was one of them. We're telling them they're just going to steal it. Because there was a runoff election. It was after the 2020 presidential election. They had to do a runoff or something like that. And they were running around telling people, don't vote. They're just going to steal it. They're going to steal it. Well, what did that do? That made 250,000 or more Republicans sit at home and not vote. The same amount. They all voted in November before, but in January they didn't vote in the special election, and we lost 2 Senate seats. That happened in 2020 because people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and some other Republicans are running around going, they're going to steal the election. They're going to steal the election. You're just wasting your vote. So what did Republicans do? So many of them, they stayed home. And the same thing will happen, ladies and gentlemen, if these Republicans are running around telling you that we can't win without the SAVE Act. They're going to cause people to stay home, and we're going to lose in November, or we could lose in November. And what a shame that would be. What a shame that would be. So, you listeners, you got to be smarter than the politicians, and that ain't hard. That is not hard to do sometimes, folks. So be smarter than the politicians. If you hear an establishment Republican or a so-called conservative Republican like Bill Kristol, that dude's not a conservative, folks. That dude's a fake. But if you hear these people telling you we can't win without the SAVE Act, you ignore that. You can advocate for the SAVE Act. You can do whatever you can to help get it passed, but don't you dare let some establishment Republican or some so-called conservative like Bill Kristol, don't you dare let them tell you that we can't win without the SAVE Act being passed, because you don't want that negative stuff in your head. You don't. We need every vote. We need every vote we can get in November, because we want the Trump policies to continue. And they will not continue if the Republicans lose the House and if they lose the Senate. And the Republicans, I don't know why, but the establishment Republican Party can be the best at talking their own voters out of voting. It blows my mind. When they ought to be doing the opposite. You ought to be saying, look, no matter what happens, you got to go vote. No matter what happens, you got to go vote. And every campaign, whether you're on the low level or you're going for Congress or whatever it is, Senate, whatever it is in the state you're in, you, Republican Party, get out there and rent. Do it now. Rent every van and every bus you can rent for the midterm elections in November. 2 reasons to do that. 1, to pick up your voters and make sure they vote. 2, to make sure the Democrats don't rent those vans and buses and pick up their voters. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. There's lots to do. Lots to do, folks. Lots. I mean, there's just, oh my goodness, folks. Listen, I know it's going to be hard to win in November, but it's not impossible. It'll be hard to win in November, but it's not impossible. Take it from me. Take it from me. Look, it's the Victor Armendariz Show. Listen, folks, I got to take a second here. I want you guys, if you're in Georgia and you're in Lawrenceville, or you're just if you're in Georgia, go visit downtown Lawrenceville. Downtown Lawrenceville, there's a bakery called Fajik Euro Bakery. Fajik Euro Bakery is going to, they've got unbelievable fresh bread, fresh pastries, and all that stuff. You tell them Victor Armendariz sent you, and they'll probably give you a free pastry to try. So make sure you go visit Fajik. It's FEJ. IC, I think, or IC, something like that. Fajik Euro Bakery. Go visit them. They've been a good partner to the Victor Armendariz Show, so go visit them in downtown Lawrenceville, Georgia. All right, folks, I got a little bit of time left, but not a whole lot of time left. So I wanted to, gosh, there's so much more I wanted to say. I wanted to get into the whole surf and turf gate. That the Democrats are trying to make a big deal. Folks, listen, this irks me to no end. Your Democrat Party, and this is what I'm talking about. Today's Democrat Party is not yesterday's Democrat Party. Today's Democrat Party is not the party of Kennedy. Today's Democrat is the party of some radical left-wing socialists like AOC and Shahib and Tlaib and Priestley. I don't know. I mean, most of the Democrat Party today is they've gone to the radical side. No matter what they tell you, they're all following AOC. They're doing whatever AOC and Bernie Sanders. They're doing what they want to do. They're running this party. Jeffries is not running the Democrat Party. I got news for you. No, it's AOC and it's Bernie Sanders and it's Mondami. Those are your Democrat leaders right now. And your Democrat Party of today, listen to them. Listen to these people. Even the ones that try to pretend they're moderate, listen to them. They are angry because our active duty women and men and women in uniform, our active duty get to eat before they go into an active situation. They actually get, or when they come back from an active situation, they actually get to eat some steak and some lobster. Oh my goodness, the military spent money on good food. You know what a Democrat of today? The Democrat of today, if they could do this, they would take the steak and lobster away from our military and give it to the illegals that are sitting with their free hotel rooms and their free health care. Listen to me, folks. I am not afraid to say this. And I'm not angry. I'm just right. I am not angry. I'm just right. Your Democrat Party of today, if they could, they would take the steak and lobster out of the mouths of our military and they would turn around and give it to illegal criminal aliens who are no matter where they are. Maybe they're put up in one of the nice hotels that the Democrats were making you and I pay for. But your Democrat Party of today would take food out of the mouths of the military, men and women, citizens of this country, and give it to the illegal criminal alien. That's your Democrat Party today. And this just irks me to no end, folks. Listen, you know what else our military gets? Oh, let me send the Democrats to their cry closet. Let me just put every Democrat listening to me right now, let me put their panties in a wad. You know what else the military gets? They get ice cream. They get soft serve ice cream. Folks, you know what the Navy does? Listen, if you're a sailor and you're in a you're a submariner, you're underwater sometimes for days, sometimes for months. You are deep underwater. You may not see the sun for days. And so you know what the military does? They put soft serve ice cream machines on these subs so that the men and women that are underwater for days at a time can actually have some soft serve ice cream to boost their morale. Because you would be surprised. Listen, folks, try living in your underground basement for days without seeing the sun and see what happens to you. It's not easy to do, folks. It's not easy to do. You can get depressed real fast. So imagine being in a tube. Imagine being in a tube like a toothpaste tube underwater, thousands of feet underwater. Imagine being underwater in a tube. Hundreds of feet, thousands of feet underwater. And you can't see the sun for days. But you know what would bring a smile to their face? And what does bring a smile to the sailor's face is a soft serve ice cream. So you Democrats can get mad all you want. And you're going to hear that. Listen, you hear them already. They're mad because our military women, the volunteers, the people who voluntarily put on a uniform to protect this country, to put themselves in danger. The Democrats are mad that they get to eat steak every now and then. They get to eat lobster every now and then. And they get to eat, and our sailors, men and women and subs get to eat soft serve ice cream. The Democrat Party is actually mad at it. The Democrat Party is not mad at the taxpayer dollars that were wasted in Minnesota. The Democrat Party is not mad at the money, taxpayer money being wasted in California. The Democrat Party is not mad of all the fraud that Doge found in the federal government. The Democrat Party was not mad to send millions of your taxpayer dollars to other countries for Transgender Story Hour. Your Democrat Party was not mad for sending millions of taxpayer dollars to other countries for gay education. Your Democrat Party could care less about the money that they waste. Your money, folks, your money. They could care less about the money they waste. Think about it. Every dollar the Democrat Party spends, every dollar the Democrat Party wastes on someone else, or every dollar the Democrat Party has in fraud, they had to reach into your pocket and take that dollar. They had to reach into your pocket, my pocket. They had to reach into the American citizen's pocket and take that dollar to go waste it on fraud or to go give it to some other country. And they don't have a problem with that. But your Democrat Party has a problem with the United States men and women in this country in uniform when they get to eat a steak or they get to eat some lobster and they get to have some soft serve ice cream. I don't care where you stand on the political aisle. I don't care what letter you're married to. If you can't stand back and be thankful for every man and woman who puts on the uniform and risk their lives and willing to risk their lives, and you can't stand with them and you can't be okay, but folks, you can spend my taxpayer dollars and pay and feed the military. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is all the fraud in Minnesota. I'm not okay with the Democrat fraud in California. I'm not okay with wasting all the money, our tax dollars, sending it to other countries like we do. I'm not okay with that. But the Democrats are. And what the Democrats have a problem with is feeding our military. Think about that, folks. Think about it. How on earth can you look at somebody who puts on the uniform voluntarily, and if they have to go to battle, they will go to battle, and you don't want them to have a steak? You don't want them to have some lobster? Suddenly, you're afraid of taxpayer dollars? Spare me the outcry, Democrats. You guys look like total losers right now, the losers that you are. But it makes me so mad, ladies and gentlemen. I can't put in words what it is for these people to have on the uniform and not have the backing of elected officials in this country. You've got Democrats right now that are actively rooting for Iran. We have military men and women, American citizens, in harm's way over there in the Middle East. And today's Democrat elected officials are actively rooting for Iran. That moron, Chris Murphy, dude, if you've got the gonads to be on my show, please have your people reach out to my people. Please, you can call the station direct, Extra 106.3. I'd love to have you on, Murphy, and I'll be nice to you. I'll be nice to you. But you got to explain to me how you're going to sit around and you're going to actually say, and I heard you say it, that the military of the United States is going to fail, that the men and women in uniform are going to fail in Iran. They've been there for 9-10 days, and it's been extraordinary. The media won't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, but I will. It has been nothing but extraordinary what the military has pulled off, what the United States military has been pulling off. We're way ahead of schedule, and they're performing unbelievably well. But Chris Murphy and the Democrats would have you believe, and the media would have you believe that it's not going well. And Chris Murphy actually said that they're going to fail, that our men and women are going to fail, that somehow radical mullahs and these radical lulululus running around that kill innocent people, somehow they're going to best our military? Oh no, ladies and gentlemen. No, not on Donald Trump's watch, not on Pete Hegseth's watch, not on our United States watch. But that's your Democrat Party today. That's your Democrat Party. Folks, listen, I have a whole lot more I could get to, but I'm going to have to wrap it up. Listen, this has been amazing, ladies and gentlemen, and if you've been watching on YouTube, I appreciate it. Every Friday, folks, from 11 o'clock, unless something happens and I have to reschedule, but every Friday, 11 o'clock, the Victor Armendariz Show. So be sure, tune in to the Victor Armendariz Show every Friday, 11 o'clock. You're going to be able to see it live on YouTube, Extra 106.3 on YouTube, Extra 106.3, the YouTube page. That's where you want to go. You'll see the Victor Armendariz live 11 o'clock every Friday. And hey, I want to give a shout out to Cherokee Guns also. Hello, guys. But every Friday you'll be able to hear the Victor Armendariz Show. And then after that, you can go to go to Podcast Park, which is through 106.3. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcast, you name it, you're going to find the Victor Armendariz Show. So thank you guys again so much for helping me grow the show. It's because of you this show's growing so fast. And stay tuned because more good things are coming. I'm going to be... Gosh, you just stay tuned to my social media. Look, find me, Victor Armendariz Show, on Facebook. Find me on Instagram. Find me on X. Find me on TikTok. I'm just about everywhere. Victor Armendariz Show. Find me there so that you will know. You'll be the first to know when I'm going to fill in. Like, folks, listen, I might be filling in for my buddy Kimmer sometime. I might be filling in for the Morning Extra sometime. You got to stay tuned. And then, of course, I will let you know when I fill in for Eric Erickson again. I know we're trying to get some dates, and we'll see if the schedules align, then we'll make it happen. But all of this stuff you'll find on my social media, and again. Just go to 106.3.com, extra1063.com, go to Podcast Park. You'll find the Victor Armendariz Show, and of course, just about any other platform on for podcasts. So thank you again. And listen, any of you guys that want to be a part of this show, email me, armendariz2010@gmail.com. ARMENDARIZ2010@gmail.com. And if you're a campaign out there and you need to hear some more ideas, I got them. You just let me know. Armendariz2010@gmail.com. If you want to be part of the show, if you've got a question, email me. I won't get to it quickly, but I will get to it. And listen, I might have you on the show. You never know. And listen, we've got a big governor's race coming up in Georgia. I'm going to probably have on. Look, I don't do guests very often. But this is important. So I'm probably going to have on Rick Jackson. Rick Jackson's got some things he's going to have to answer for. I'll have on Burt Jones. I'll open it up to some other candidates too. So stay tuned. Lots of awesome things happening with the Victor Armendariz Show. Again, a big thank you to Extra 106.3. I'm thrilled to be part of their family. Great things to come, folks. My goodness, who knows what's going to be going on in the next 6 months. So stay tuned. So, folks, this has been the Victor Armendariz Show, and we'll see you next Friday.